party. How many people like openly talked about being there?
LeBron,
Ashton Kutcher, all these people. Like, you guys all went. You didn't see nothing.
This video discusses public allegations, court filings, media reports, and widely circulated online theories. Nothing stated here should be taken as established fact. All individuals mentioned are presumed innocent unless proven otherwise in a court of law, and this content is presented for analysis of public discourse rather than as an assertion of guilt. Joe Rogan just uncovered something wildly chilling about Diddy's case, and it's way bigger than anyone thought. The trail of secrets doesn't stop with Diddy. It climbs all the way to the top, pulling in names that most people wouldn't dare whisper about. What Joe said on his podcast might have been the kind of thing that powerful people never wanted out in the open. In this breakdown, we're diving deep into the full chain of power, from Diddy's world straight up to the ones who call the real shots.
I think he's gonna walk, dude.
I think he's gonna walk
I don't
too.
think he's gonna spend any time.
And this is what Kurt Metzger called a long time ago. As soon as he saw that it was Comey's daughter, he was like, oh, he's gonna walk. Trust me, he's gonna walk. There's a bunch of high-profile people that are connected to this.
Yeah.
They're covering it all up. If he goes down, they go down. So he's not gonna go down.
At the top of that ladder, you'll see who's truly pulling strings, why some names stay untouchable no matter what happens, and how Joe might have stepped right into a danger zone just by talking about it live. This one's going to shake you up. Now, while Diddy sits behind bars waiting for his day in court, most people think that's where the story ends, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Joe Rogan's latest podcast dropped a bomb that no one was ready for. The things he hinted at, those connections, run so deep that they reach corners of influence you'd never expect.
Bro, where's the videos? They were telling us that videos are going to come out, incredibly high-profile people doing horrendous things, evil things. People are going to go to jail. People are going to be shocked.
Yeah.
Where?
Right.
Nothing.
Well, like,
zero.
We're talking about a network of power that goes far beyond entertainment. These are relationships that link billionaires, executives, and politicians, tied together in ways most folks can't even imagine. And if what Joe said is true, he might have just stepped on the toes of people who never get questioned, ever. So get ready, because we're unpacking everything, from Diddy's world all the way up to the ones who might really be controlling the game. This isn't just gossip, it's a look behind the curtain, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Trust me, what you're about to hear is going to blow your mind. Before we even talk about who's really calling the shots behind the scenes, you've got to understand exactly what went down with Diddy, because without that, none of this makes sense.
Why did they tell us that there was all these videos of all these high-profile people and then silence, and then it never comes up once during the trial? There's none of that stuff in the trial. In the trial, it was his ex-girlfriend Cassie. They were talking about, so like, he's up for these 2 charges left, and it's like something. It's like nothing stuff. It's like stuff that he's going to go to jail for like 5 years, if at all, and probably won't.
Right.
And he's already been in jail for, so like, what is time served now? It's over a year, right?
Right now, Diddy's locked up, facing some of the most serious charges you can imagine. He was arrested, indicted, and accused of using his fame and power in ways that shocked everyone. According to federal prosecutors, Diddy allegedly used his influence to pressure people into things they never agreed to. But that's just the surface. What comes next is where things take a dark turn. Those infamous freak-offs everyone whispers about, they weren't just wild parties. Reports claim that some guests were drugged and secretly filmed without realizing it.
My thing about the Diddy thing is like, I don't really give a f. These people are they're of age. They're like 18 years old. And is it what he's doing, trying to like use people and leverage them into do these weird sexual things and like sick shit, just the most sick shit you could possibly think of.
Just picture that. You're at what you think is a high-profile party, surrounded by stars, and someone secretly recording you for leverage later. That's beyond twisted. And here's the part that sent chills through everyone. More than 120 people have reportedly come forward with allegations connected to this mess. Out of those, several claim to be underage at the time, which makes this situation even more disturbing. Even 50 Cent stepped into the mix. His Netflix documentary, The Reckoning, threw this story right back into the spotlight, forcing everyone to take a second look at how deep this really goes. He wasn't scared to lay it all out there, and honestly, props to him for that. But here's the part that most people don't even realize, and this detail changes everything. Diddy wasn't some mastermind acting solo. Not even close. He was part of something way bigger. And from the looks of it, he wasn't anywhere near the top of this pyramid of power. So let's get into how deep this really goes.
all these famous people are here. They're doing this. Like
elaborate parties,
yeah.
Lots of money, everything you want, the golden carrot at the end of the stick.
Right.
So the thing is, he's not even being charged for any of the things you just brought up. He's not being charged for blackmail, which is kind of crazy because, what did they do?
On one of his podcast episodes, Joe Rogan started connecting dots that most folks were too nervous to even touch. He mentioned Jeffrey Epstein, and right then, the mood in the room changed. The way their operations seemed to mirror each other was too eerie to ignore. Suddenly, the conversation went from casual talk to full-on serious investigation energy. One of Joe's guests dropped a bold question. Is Diddy gonna sing? As in, will he expose everyone else involved? That's when Joe's brain kicked into overdrive. He started seeing a pattern that's hard to unsee once it's pointed out. Rogan highlighted something chilling, the Epstein effect. Someone gets caught for trafficking and exploitation, but somehow nobody else gets charged. Think about it. Epstein was accused of trafficking victims to who? Official records don't name anyone. Then Ghislaine Maxwell gets convicted for helping him. But again, who were the clients? No one listed. That doesn't make sense, right? The pattern is right there for everyone to see, but people keep looking the other way. The ones at the top, those with power, money, and connections, always seem to slip through untouched. It's like watching a rerun of the same story, only the names change while the outcome stays the same. And that's when Rogan started dropping some heavy names. He mentioned LeBron James, Ashton Kutcher, and a few other massive celebrities who had once talked about attending Diddy's parties back in the day. You could almost feel the tension rise as those names came out. It's like everyone suddenly realized this rabbit hole might go way deeper than anyone imagined. Remember all those flashy, ain't no party like a Diddy party clips that used to flood social media? Yeah, those hit way different now. Rogan dropped a question that made everyone stop in their tracks. He straight up said, "You guys all went, you didn't see nothing?" And that's the part that's got people talking. Because the silence from those who were there, it says a lot. Either they knew exactly what was happening, or they were somehow involved. There's no in-between anymore. Now here's where things start to get wild. If Diddy was the self-proclaimed king of his own world, then Sir Lucian Grange is the emperor quietly ruling from the shadows. This man isn't just another executive, he's the CEO of Universal Music Group, the giant that owns practically every major label Diddy's ever been tied to. We're talking about power that most people can't even wrap their heads around. And things get even crazier when you dig into what came out during the Lil Rod lawsuit. Grange's name actually popped up in the filings, and that's where the theory exploded. Major labels like Universal don't just sign artists, they build the entire system that lets these moguls move the way they do. Some people are even calling it a protection network instead of a music business. Then those court documents dropped and wow, they painted a shocking picture. They didn't just suggest Grange was aware of Diddy's infamous gatherings, they hinted that he might have been closer to the chaos than anyone expected. He didn't just know about those parties, he sponsored them. And get this, he even showed up multiple times at Diddy's Los Angeles mansion where it all supposedly went down. According to the lawsuit, those events weren't just wild celebrity hangouts. They allegedly included explicit performers and, disturbingly, some guests who were reported to be underage. Let that sink in. Underage guests at parties hosted by some of the most powerful names in entertainment. The lawsuit goes as far as to claim that Lucian Grange either knew or should have known that people were being drugged. And how were they allegedly doing it? Through bottles of De Leon tequila and Ciroc vodka, both of which are tied directly to Diddy's brand. That's just insane to even think about. Candace Owens didn't hold back on this one. She straight up called out why mainstream outlets weren't touching the story. She pointed out that Lucian Grange isn't just another executive. He's one of the most powerful figures in both Hollywood and the music world. This man has the influence to decide what gets covered and what disappears before it ever hits the front page. The lawsuit didn't stop with him either. It also named Ethiopia Habtemariam and Christina Kolam from Universal Music Group, alleging that they too were aware of what was happening behind the scenes. The documents claim they saw it, they heard it, and yet they never tried to shut it down. Why? Because at that level of the game, money decides everything. These label heads control billions, and when something brings in that much cash, suddenly it's too valuable to expose. That's beyond messed up. And that's exactly why you won't see this story splashed across CNN or Fox News. The people pulling the strings have the power to bury anything that could shake their empire. Every move, every headline, it's all filtered through the same circle of elite insiders who decide what the public is allowed to see. And when it comes to Diddy's tight inner circle, one name always pops up: Jay-Z. These two aren't just friends, they're brothers in the business. Diddy once even said only 2 people in the world are allowed to call him by his real name, and you can bet Jay-Z is one of them. Sean, his mother, and Jay-Z, that's it. Those are the only 2 people Diddy ever said could call him by his real name, and that detail says a lot. Now let's talk about Jaguar Wright. If you don't know her, she's the one who speaks what everyone else is too scared to say. She sat down with Pi Morgan and dropped some serious bombshells about both Jay-Z and Diddy. But here's where things get suspicious. The entire episode vanished. Gone. Wiped clean from the internet like it never existed. That's not just weird, it's straight up chilling. I mean, if there was nothing to hide, why erase it so fast? In that interview, Jaguar asked the question that's been floating around the industry for years. How come Jay-Z can sit down with big-name hosts like Gayle King on national TV and somehow never, ever get pressed about those long-standing rumors or shady business ties? How does that happen? And Jaguar didn't hold back. She called out both Diddy and Jay-Z directly, labeling them as monsters whose influence has been crushing the music world for decades. She said their reach is so deep that it's nearly impossible to make it big in the industry without crossing their path or playing by their rules. After that, people started connecting dots fast. The biggest question buzzing around now is, why did Jay-Z's own high-profile attorney suddenly pop up in the middle of Diddy's legal drama? Is that just a random coincidence, or is there something way bigger happening behind closed doors that we're not supposed to know about? Jay-Z has never publicly addressed any of these rumors, and in today's world, silence doesn't come off as neutral anymore. It looks intentional. Every word you don't say speaks just as loud as the ones you do. Joe Rogan talks about this all the time on his podcast. People at the highest levels of power don't deal with their problems directly. They've got elite fixers and legal hit squads whose only job is to make problems vanish. Ever heard of Alan Grubman? Probably not, and that's exactly how he likes it. He's one of those behind-the-scenes power attorneys representing everyone from Diddy to Bruce Springsteen. He's not just a lawyer, he's a gatekeeper, one of the people quietly connecting the dots between the biggest names in the industry. These are the insiders who operate in the dark, controlling everything from who gets exposed to who gets protected. They're the ones who draft those airtight NDAs that keep stories buried for 20, even 30 years. They don't just represent stars, they control the entire narrative. And when you hold the narrative, you hold all the power, because in this world, information isn't just valuable, it's the most dangerous weapon there is. If they decide your story never gets told, trust me, it's staying buried. And every time Joe Rogan brings former CIA officer Mike Baker on his show, their talks somehow circle back to the same eerie comparison: Diddy's so-called freak-offs and Jeffrey Epstein's island operations. The similarities are too wild to ignore. But here's the key point. They're not saying Diddy was the evil mastermind behind everything. Nope. The theory is that he was more like a middleman, a facilitator, someone put in position to do a specific job for people way higher up the ladder. And here's the real question that makes everyone pause. If Diddy was really recording those wild parties like federal indictments suggest, then who was that footage meant for? Who wanted those tapes? The ones above Diddy, the real shot callers, might just be the mysterious John Does hiding in the background. We're talking about politicians, CEOs, and global elites who allegedly treated Diddy's parties like their own private playgrounds. And according to what's being whispered, there could be thousands of hours of hidden footage, not just from Diddy's events, but with possible links to Epstein's tapes too. If that's even partly true, then we're looking at a full-blown blackmail network that could stretch across decades. Even Elon Musk dropped hints about this on Joe Rogan's podcast. He suggested that part of the reason some political figures get huge backing from billionaires is pure fear. Fear that if the wrong person ever gets into power, certain lists might start surfacing. You know the ones, like the Epstein client list or what some are now calling the Diddy party list. And when names like Reid Hoffman and Bill Gates got mentioned as people who might be uneasy about what could come out, well, things got real tense real fast. Then Rogan hit Elon with a simple question. Did Reid Hoffman seem nervous? Elon's answer? Just one word. Yes. That one word said everything. And this is where the so-called facilitator model starts to make sense. Guys like Epstein and Diddy weren't necessarily the masterminds. They built protected spaces for the elite, hidden playgrounds where powerful people could act without fear of public exposure. These were exclusive environments where everyone felt safe doing whatever they wanted. But here's the twist. The same safe spaces that made them feel untouchable were the very traps that could destroy them if those recordings ever surfaced. These weren't just wild celebrity party spots. They were honeypots, carefully designed traps where the most powerful people on Earth could be watched, recorded, and ultimately controlled, Joe Rogan said it perfectly. If this wasn't an intelligence operation, then it had to be one incredibly dark genius who figured out how to compromise everyone. Think about that. Guests were told to hand over their phones, promise total privacy, but the whole time, hidden cameras were allegedly rolling from every angle, every secret moment, every conversation, recorded. Then Rogan dropped the question that really cuts deep. Was Diddy working for someone above him, or did he just lose control of his own game? That's the part nobody seems to have a clear answer to. During that same conversation, Elon Musk brought up Jennifer Lopez, not for gossip, but to make a sharp point about credibility. His take was cold but real. If so many big names were that close to Diddy for years, where were the warnings? Where were the red flags? J-Lo wasn't some casual acquaintance. She was Diddy's girlfriend, seen with him at events, parties, and even red carpet appearances. She was there through all of it. And that's where the uncomfortable question hits. How many people did she warn about Diddy? The answer? 0. Not one person. So now that we've pieced everything together, from Diddy's alleged blackmail operation to the financial gatekeepers at Universal Music Group, from Jay-Z's connections and the eerie Epstein parallels, all the way to Bishop T.D. Jakes and the mysterious power pyramid, you've got to ask yourself, what's really going on here? Is this just a wild chain of coincidences playing out in the public eye? Or are we finally seeing the cracks form in a system that's been quietly running the world from the shadows? The deeper you look, the more the pieces seem to fit together. And that's what's got everyone buzzing right now. So tell me, what do you think? Do you believe this is just conspiracy talk? Or are we watching something huge start to unravel in real time? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I seriously want to hear your take on this one. And hey, if you found this breakdown as mind-blowing as I did, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment below. Let's keep this conversation going, because the truth doesn't hide forever. It just waits for someone brave enough to dig it up. Stay sharp, stay questioning, and I'll catch you in the next one.